Zombie Apocalypse.
What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. This is 6 Scale Economist, and in today's video we are going to be talking about Darth Maul from Solo, a Star Wars story. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this figure specifically was because this week, or I would say over the past week and a half, we have seen 3 figures from Solo go on waitlist at Sideshow very quickly before any of them made it to in stock. So we saw first the Mud Trooper did it, and then the standard Han Solo went waitlist, and then probably I think 3 days later, which would have been yesterday, the deluxe version of Solo went waitlist. And I tried to put up a review as fast as I could about the deluxe version of Solo, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. But at the time of me making that video and releasing it, that figure was still available on Sideshow, and I made the recommendation to people. I said, look, Mud Trooper didn't make it to in stock, went very quickly. The standard edition of Han Solo also went waitlist, and there was still about a 3-day period where you could have gotten the deluxe Han Solo when it was still in stock on Sideshow. And I said to pick it up. You know, it's a free option. You know, I think that you're definitely not gonna weren't gonna lose any money on it. And now, unfortunately, it is waitlist. So hopefully, those people that watched that video and they were on the fence, I hope that you were able to put in an order for one, or maybe find it on a different website. But now it's waitlist on Sideshow, and I've checked a couple of other spots that I check on the web, and most of those places are also either most of the places are also all out of pre-orders and sold out of those. So I think that this is another interesting opportunity to try and quickly talk about Darth Maul. As given what we've seen from the Solo movies, this one could potentially go to waitlist very soon. Maybe in the next couple of days, or couple of weeks. So this, if you've been on the fence about it for a while, it's been available for pre-order for a while, this might be the time to talk about it, and maybe hopefully this could shed some light on helping you make a decision. So just talking about this figure from a collector's perspective, obviously we already had the DX-17 Darth Maul come out. I think it came out in July, so maybe about 11 months ago. That figure's awesome, but first let's talk about this one. So obviously, much different head sculpt. This head sculpt, spoiler warning if you haven't seen Solo, click out of here now, but I would assume most people have. He does show up at the end of Solo in a hologram, and this is kind of the look he has. It's obviously much different head sculpt than the one that we've previously gotten. The mechanical legs, slightly different lightsaber. Just taking a look here. I mean, it's a badass Darth Maul. I think it's very cool. I also think it's really cool that you can see his body tattoos. That's something that you can't see on the other one. I'm just looking at mine right now. You can't see that. I think that's a pretty cool look. Kind of gives a comic book feel, kind of I don't know, just kind of a different look for Darth Maul, which is very cool. Interesting little tidbit about this earring for those of you who don't know. The actor that played Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace, name is Ray Park. He actually wears this earring in real life, and when they did the first day of filming, he forgot to take out that earring, and nobody noticed. So he just did the whole first day of shooting with that earring in, and then at the end of the day, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot I had my earring in that entire time." And George Lucas, being George Lucas, he was like, "Oh yeah, oh well, actually it's pretty cool. Why don't you just leave it?" And then they just ended up sticking with it, and now he just always has it and everything. He has it in the Clone Wars, he has it in Solo. So I think there's just a little fun fact about that earring. This is the pose that you see in the movie. That's an awesome pose. That's if I pick up this figure, which I actually myself haven't ordered one yet, but I think I'm going to. We'll get to that in a bit. This is definitely one of the poses that I would do. I think it's a pretty sweet pose. Yeah, just taking a look at another head sculpt here. The mechanical legs are awesome. This is probably the selling piece of the figure. I mean, that's pretty sweet. Obviously you get this really cool seat. Comes with the figure. You get the holograms. Everybody loves their holograms. Yeah. So just from a collector's perspective, I think it's definitely cool. It's unfortunate that we didn't really get to see him any other time other than a hologram in the Solo movie. And me, for my collection, I kind of like to have when I put in my detail, I kind of like to have characters with each other in movies, things that kind of make theatrical sense, having Episode 3 Obi-Wan and Anakin together, and things like that. So this one is kind of one that it's probably going to like, if you're like me and you like to have like things like kind of like, you're just like weird about your collection, you like to have things that kind of make sense in your collection. This is one that's probably going to have to be one that just like is displayed by himself. Like there's nothing really else that you can like display him with. And that's not like a huge knock to the figure, but I think that is like an important point to like note, especially for like what his potential upside is from an investment perspective. Let me just segue right into talking about this figure from an investment perspective, and just starting with that, this figure doesn't have the potential upside that other figures have, like Count Dooku. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, Count Dooku is such a great investment for multiple reasons, and one of those reasons is they haven't made episode 2 Obi-Wan or Anakin, and I would assume it's very likely that in the future they will make those figures, and when they do, so many people are going to want to have them posed with Count Dooku, and you're not going to be able to get Count Dooku anymore, so that's just going to inflate the price even more upside than that figure already had. This figure, not so much. Like this is probably going to be it. Like there's not like too much you can display him with. Like I guess you could display him like with Solo, Han Solo from the Solo movie, but like it doesn't make like a ton of sense. But like I guess it like works. But I'm just saying is that you don't have like that aggressive upside potential with this figure. Another thing, let's talk about like from a historical perspective, the DX16/17 Darth Maul that came out about a year ago. That figure surprisingly hasn't done like incredibly well in the secondary market. Just taking a look here, this figure retailed I think $272 or $275, and for a while, probably like that figure came out in July of 2019. It went waitlist, I want to say around like October, and even if that figure went waitlist, you could still pick that figure up for probably 3 months at like $290, $300 brand new, and you could probably pick it up for like retail, displayed. And even then, now we're finally starting to see this figure go up. $375. I think it's all 400. This is the set, so that one doesn't really count as much. $375, $400. So like, this figure has gone up, but like, remember, keep in mind, like this figure sold for $400. Now we're almost 8 months after this figure went waitlist. It's only selling for $400, and this is eBay, so like take 10% off that. Now you're at $360, and then probably take another anywhere from $15 to $25 for shipping, and then now you're looking at like somewhere in like, call it like the $335, $340 range. So even then, you're not making like a a great amount of money, because even if it costs $275, like all in after tax and shipping, you probably paid like $305, $310 for that. So now you're only making like $20 or $30, plus you have to go through like all the hassle, like so like this figure, like from an investment perspective, hasn't really panned out that great so far. And so keep with that in mind, comparing these two figures. This figure was obviously way more supplied than I think that this figure is going to be. The Solo figures are already proven that Hot Toys has short printed these, similar to what they've done with the Rogue One figures, especially just given what we've seen over the past week and a half with the the other three Han Solo figures. So like that's an important puzzle piece that this figure does have going for it. But the downside is, I would imagine a lot of people are only going to pick up only need one Darth Maul in their collection, and I know from my perspective, if I only need one Darth Maul in my collection, I'm going to pick up this Darth Maul for a multitude of reasons. Like he's like the original, like kind of like one Darth Maul. Like it was an awesome set, comes with like 2 head sculpts, like tons of accessories. You're going to be able to pair this one with Qui-Gon, and like hopefully eventually episode 1 Anakin, when episode 1 Obi-Wan when he comes out. So like this figure also has like the upside of being able to pair him with other figures, but this one is kind of just like a standalone, like, I just don't think it's going to have like a crazy demand. And so the demand side isn't so much there, but if the supply side is also, like subdued, then this figure could perform like relatively well. But I don't think that this is one that screams to me as a great investment to, pick up, like Director Krennic. Director Krennic was like such an obvious, to me, and that's what I alluded to in my video. Director Krennic was such a obvious buy this figure, for so many reasons. That was such a great investment so I hope that everybody was able to pick one up. because obviously now it is waitlist. But this one doesn't scream that much to me like a great investment from an investment perspective. So my recommendation would be, if you're on the fence about this one, and you're like kind of like you're on the fence but you're like leaning more towards like being hesitant to pick it up, I think you're probably okay to watch the market a little bit longer, see what happens. If this figure doesn't make it to in stock and just goes straight to waitlist, we can, that's another conversation that you can have. But like if this figure makes it to in stock, then like you can probably just hang out a little bit. Like I imagine even if this figure doesn't make it to in stock and it just goes straight to waitlist, like you would probably be able to find some site like within like a week or two and try and pick it up there if that changes your mind. And then if you're on the fence on this figure but you're leaning more towards buying it, I would say order it, and do the thing I've talked about in the past, like, order it, keep it brand new once you get it and see what happens. But this is one where I think that it could like not really go above retail for a while, just based off of what we saw with the original Darth Maul. And this seems like a figure that like maybe we'll get to like, if it's just not that in demand, like maybe it only gets to like 10% like above retail. Maybe it's trending at like 300 once it sells out, but then like you're, after everything included, like fees on both ends, tax and everything, like it's probably going to be a figure where you're probably only get 90% of your money back, net everything, if you decide to sell it quickly once like it sells out, and you decide that you didn't really want it. So that's gonna be my overall recommendation. If you definitely want this figure, obviously just buy it. And if you're kind of on the fence, leaning more towards not really wanting it, then I'd probably just say just pass on it. And then if you're leaning on the fence but you're leaning more towards wanting to buy it, keep it, but just understand that this might be one that you might lose a little bit of money on and not be able to like break even on it. And it's not like an obvious one to me as some of the other ones were, like Commander Cody, Director Krennic, Qui-Gon, all of these other figures. Yeah. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.